speaking first? We are the ones we have been waiting for. This joy that I have, oh, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, the world didn't give it, can't take it away. Oh, this love that I have, oh, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this love, the world didn't give it to me. This love, the world didn't give it to me. And the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Oh, this peace that I have, oh, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this peace I have, oh, this peace that I have, oh, the world didn't give it to me, and the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this strength that I have, oh, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this strength that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Yeah. The world didn't give it, the world can't take that thing away. Oh, this joy that I have, oh, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Yeah.
Welcome to the Community Church of New York, a house of prayer for all people. My name is Karishma Gottfried, and I am your intern minister. We gather together today, as we do each Sunday, in an effort to grow as a caring, justice-making, anti-racist, diverse, spiritual community. In this time of ever-shortening days and ever-lengthening nights, this post-election, pre-inauguration interim period, this first Sunday of December, the first day of Advent, a time in the Christian tradition of waiting and hoping, we gather together. We gather together waiting and hoping, wondering and praying, wholly prepared for the unknown. But this we know. There is more love somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. We are waiting on joy, but also we are ready to greet it and hold it in this moment. Let us begin again in love.
Please rise for the lighting of our chalice. We light this chalice, the flame of our heritage. May it ignite hope in our lives, in the community, and in the world.
Rise up, O flame, rise on my flame. Show to us beauty, show to us beauty, show to us beauty, vision and joy.
You may be seated. Please join me as we together recite our unison affirmation found in your bulletin. Unto the Church Universal, which is the depository of all ancient wisdom and the school of all modern thought, which recognizes in all prophets a harmony, in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity, which abjures all that separates and divides, and always magnifies humanity and peace, which seeks truth in freedom, justice in love, and individual discipline in social duty, and which shall make of all persons one beloved community. Unto this church and unto all its members, known and unknown throughout the world, we pledge the allegiance of our hands and hearts. We greet each other on Sundays as part of our liturgy. We turn to our neighbor, whether they're strangers or old friends, and we welcome one another into our shared space. It's our way of saying that our spiritual path here is communal and relational, that we are in this together. Not just friendly. This is how we ground ourselves in this space. With this in mind, please greet your neighbor. All right, we love greeting one another. But that's enough, friends. Let's find our way back to our seats.
As Unitarian Universalists, our inspiration comes from many sources, including the Jewish and Christian teachings that call us to love our neighbors as ourselves. On this first day of Advent, Christians around the world, including those in our own community, begin a time of preparation for the birth of the baby Jesus, a great leader who taught his community about love that is tied to justice and the intentional practice of radical welcome. Today is also recognized around the globe as World AIDS Day, a time to remember and honor the more than 32 million people who have died from AIDS-related illnesses, and to renew our commitment to ending the HIV epidemic. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold a wide range of beliefs. Some of us might maintain that this is a simple coincidence. After all, December 1st is also National Eat a Red Apple Day. But others among us might also find meaning in this occurrence, connecting the long and storied history of Advent with a day of awareness and remembrance for a disease that has taken far too many before their time. Whatever your beliefs are as Unitarian Universalists, there are some things we all hold as our values. A belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, a belief that every human being deserves the opportunity to grow and to change, to make mistakes and give apologies, to love and to grieve, and to be held in community. On this Sunday, as we gather, we affirm our commitment to the flourishing of all human beings, all of our children, all of our elders, and everyone in between. We affirm our commitment to welcome each person through our doors as their whole selves, full of flaws and growing edges, but ready and willing to lean into love.
Children of the earth, we have come to sing to each other, sister and brother, songs of our mother earth.
Children of the earth, we have come to worship together that which is greater than any of us alone. Some of us call that God. Others know that connection as the sound of children's laughter, or the drip of the coffee after service, or the smiles and sniffles that come up in our moments of emotion through our time together. We find the divine in the wick and the flame of the chalice light, of the sounds of the choir that fill up this whole space, of the reverberations of the chime that spread through each of our bodies and echo down the aisles.
Children of the earth, what how soon will breathe His breath, and quick will her death bear witness His Master's birth.
Children of the earth, winter has come to cradle us in its quiet wisdom. In the stillness we listen for the crackle of frost underfoot, the hush of wind through bare branches, the whispers of dreams forming in the dark. Some of us feel the sacred in the waiting, the tender pause before the return of the sun. Others find it in the warmth of a shared glance, the glow of candles kindling hope. Here, in the presence of one another, we honor both the darkness and the light. We honor the cycles that guide us, the balance that sustains us, the resilience that carries us forward.
Children of the earth, can you feel the air getting cold as darkness is told and sleep covers Mother Earth?
Children of the earth, the season is turning and we turn with it. Take a moment to breathe, to listen. Can you feel the air shifting, the stillness inviting us to rest? This is a time to pause, to honor the cycles of change that hold us, and to find meaning in the quiet spaces between. In this moment, we celebrate the gifts of darkness, the space to dream, the chance to replenish, the stillness that prepares us for what comes next. Together, we honor this sacred rhythm, a time for rest and reflection, for holding close what is dear, and for planting seeds deep within the soil of our hearts. We carry these gifts with us in the care we give, the stories we share, and the communities we build. May the lessons of this sacred season guide us as we journey forward, rooted in the beauty of life's cycles. May this prayer serve as a reminder to trust in the wisdom of the dark. Blessed be.
Our wisdom story today is called Miriam the Prophet. When we heard them shouting down the road, we thought it was more Egyptian violence, the cheering of Egyptian citizens while someone made sport of another Hebrew slave. We'd been slaves so long. Our dark skin baked by years beneath the Saharan sun, it was hard to imagine anything else. But word quickly spread among us of all the horrible things, the frogs, the locusts, the blood in the river. It had tormented this land and the Egyptians and had scared Pharaoh into releasing us. When I heard we were free, all I could think was run, go, get out now. These Egyptians like to change their minds. It would be best to make a run for it, and I could be gone. I wasn't thinking about where. I wasn't even thinking of my brother Aaron. I ran into him just outside of our hut. His hands were full of rope and wooden stakes. He was out of breath, panting. He had been packing us a shelter. He knew we would not be back. "Take this," he said to me. He handed me a firm, crusty but still undercooked patty of dough. "It's all they could prepare for us," he said to me. "We're lucky to have any food at all." It didn't look like food to me, but I packed it anyway. In a matter of minutes, our little bags were full, tied stakes and rods slung across our shoulders, and I don't know what got into me, but I reached over and I picked up my old wooden timbrel. I didn't have a place to put it. My hands were full. I couldn't fit it in my side satchel. The rim was too wide. As we walked, I just held it in my hand, but Aaron threw a sideways glance as if to say, "You can make another when we get there. Leave it behind." I thought it was only the essentials. But I didn't want to make another one. You see, this took me over a year to make. I could only get a few hours a night after my day of work was over, and anyways, it won't matter when we get there. I'm bringing it. Aaron doesn't know everything. We started walking, and I immediately regretted bringing it. I told you I didn't have a place to put it. I was carrying it in my hand, and Aaron handed me an almost empty wineskin. Couldn't even grab it. This thing was in my hand. So quickly, I took a scarf from my bag. I tied the timbrel to my shoulder and took a drink. The timbrel sat tied to my shoulder blade, jingling and bouncing as I walked. My thoughts were a mix. I couldn't believe what was happening. Were we really leaving Egypt? Part of me believed that we would be back soon enough, that the rug would get pulled out from under us, and sure enough, the sound of hoofbeats grew behind us. That's when we all started running. My feet were sore from work, but still I ran, the timbrel bouncing under my arm. Ahead of me, I knew we would soon be trapped by the Red Sea, and my heart sank. I began to weep as I ran, for I knew all was over. My thoughts drifted back to the songs I used to hear from my parents, Amram and Jochebed. Our mother and our father would sing us melodies to us, me and my son Aaron, as we drifted off. I knew that what Amram taught to Aaron, he would have to remember someday, and so I did my best to remember them too. Funny that that's what I thought of just before the end was near. And yet when we reached the sea, there was no water. There was a big cloud in the way, and Egypt never caught us. My tired, aching feet bled on the rocks of the seabed, but the jingling timbrel was the only sound. Everyone else continued walking in silence. It was then I realized this was actually happening. This was real. All the way up until now, I believed that none of this could actually have been true. But now I saw Egypt behind us, and we had crossed the sea, and we were free, bells and all. I don't know how long we walked that way. Soon dusk approached. Over the sound of footsteps, over the sound of my jingling timbrel, I heard the shout of a man at the front of our crowd. But this time it wasn't an angry or scared shout. It sounded strong. It sounded confident. It sounded beautiful. I think it was our leader, Moshe, but it was too far away to be sure. It sounded like singing. Some of the men joined in, and the melodies reminded me of what Amram used to sing, the sounds of our fathers, the ancient songs of our ancestors. I felt in me a compulsion. I took the timbrel off of my shoulder, and as the other songs died down, I started to play and sing, but I didn't know what it was. It was a new song. It shot forth from my mouth. The sounds that came out were deep and rich and shocked me. But I sang. I was, I believe, for the first time in my life, truly happy. And this was a new power I felt. I had no place to put it. It came out of me like a fountain, and I sang, and my sisters joined me. I wailed, and they wailed with me. And together we gave our voices in fullness to all who could hear. We were free. Horse and rider had been thrown into the sea. Amen.
Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, music in the air. I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. Y'all say, up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. All in my house, I hear music in the air. All in my house, music in the air. All in my house, I hear music in the air. I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. All over the world, I hear music in the air. All over the music in the air, all over the world, music in the air. I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, music in the air. Up above my head, music in the air. I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. All over this house, I hear music in the air. All over my house, music in the air. All over my I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. Oh, I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. I really do believe believe, I really do believe there's a joy somewhere.
So when I was little, I read in a fact book that human beings spend 5 years of their lives waiting in lines. Now, I actually have no idea if that's true, and I found absolutely no reputable sources online to back me up, so please don't ever quote me on that. But when I was 8 or so, it didn't really matter if that fact was true or not. It's clearly stuck with me for a long time. And every time I'm in some sort of line, I wonder how many minutes this is counting against my 5 years. You know, if I'll end up waiting in line for more or less time than the average human. Now, we humans spend a lot of time waiting. Whether it's 5 years or 1 or 10, who knows? But we spend a lot of time waiting for things to start, for things to end, in lines at grocery stores and amusement parks, for the subway to arrive, for rain to come, for the snow to leave. And the winter is an important time for waiting in many different cultures and communities. We wait for the birth of Christ. We wait for the oil to burn out. We wait for the days to lengthen again. Animals enter hibernation and wait for the cold days to end. Seeds are buried far beneath the earth, waiting for the frost to thaw to be able to grow. And yet, even in this time of waiting, we are still here. Waiting, but also doing, being, living in this present moment. We are still going on about our lives, knowing that what is to come is at least somewhat dependent on what is here right now. One of the ways that I've been experiencing waiting, but also doing in my life is through gardening. And I say that with really massive air quotes. So I recently received an arrow garden for my birthday a few weeks ago. And now, despite my mother being a master gardener and my sister majoring in environmental science and working for the Smith College Botanic Garden, I notoriously do not have a green thumb. Every summer, I valiantly attempt to grow a pot of basil, or rather to keep alive an already grown pot of basil, and even that I fail. This last summer, my wilted pot of basil attracted basil gnats, which is apparently a thing, and they followed me around for months like I was their mother. So this arrow garden was the perfect gift. It comes with everything you need to grow plants from seed without soil. And all I have to do is add some water and some plant food every now and then. So I planted the seed pods the day I got them on November 5th. I planted basil and mint and thyme, and they said they'd take about 6 to 12 days to sprout. So I waited patiently, checking on them every night when I came home from work, and every morning when I woke up. A week passed, nothing. Finally, one day, the tiniest dot of green emerged from the mint pod, and I was so excited. But the basil and the thyme were still dark and empty. Another week passed, and while the mint continued to sprout, I realized that the others probably weren't going to germinate. It was so disappointing to have waited nearly 3 weeks at that point and only have this little sprout of mint to show for it. So I replaced the thyme and the basil with new pods, added some more water and plant food, and left to visit family for Thanksgiving, hoping that when I came back, there would be something more. I had done everything I could, and all there was left to do was to wait. But it's not like I sat around staring at these seeds, waiting for them to grow. I kept moving on with my life, finding other things to do to keep me busy. I made the mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving. They were a hit. I started on my seminary finals, and of course, helped prepare this service. And when I returned from my trip last night, I rushed to check in on my little garden. And yes, there was more. The mint had grown taller, its tiny leaves unfolding with confidence. But I checked on the thyme pod, hoping to see some green, and instead, I found it covered in mold. My first reaction was disappointment. I had done everything right. Added the water, adjusted the light, followed all the instructions, but the thyme still didn't grow. It felt unfair. And yet, as I stood there looking at this mold, I realized that this too is part of the process. Not every seed sprouts. Not every effort bears fruit. Sometimes, despite our best intentions, things fall apart. But when I looked at that arrow garden and saw that tiny sprout of mint still growing strong amidst the moldy thyme and the empty basil pod, I couldn't help but smile. That little green sprout felt like a triumph. Small, but real. It reminded me that even in the midst of failure or uncertainty, there is something to celebrate. In the book of Exodus, right after Moses and the Israelites had escaped from Egypt, there is this line, part of the story that Brother Zachary told. Then Miriam, the prophet, sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hands, and all of the women went out behind her with their timbrels. They hadn't made it to the promised land. They hadn't even really made it to the wilderness, much less through the wilderness. And yet, Miriam picked up her timbrel and she danced. She led the women in song, celebrating not the journey's end, but the moment they had made it through. Miriam teaches us to recognize the importance of pausing in the midst of uncertainty, to acknowledge the goodness we can find here and now. There is a long period of waiting between Miriam's dancing and the arrival of her people to their home. But this line in Exodus, chapter 15, verse 20, this little line, makes it clear that there were joyous moments throughout. That mint has been my Miriam moment. You know, it wasn't a full garden. It wasn't what I had hoped for when I planted those seeds. But it was a sign of life, a reminder that even when things don't go perfectly, there is still something worth celebrating. The same has been true for this stage of my journey toward ordained ministry. As many of you know, I'm here this year and next year as your intern minister, a requirement for fellowship within Unitarian Universalism. Now, there are a lot of steps along the path to becoming an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister, and while I'm getting close, I'm still very much in the midst of the waiting. One of the other important requirements for becoming a UU minister, aside from this internship, is to complete a unit of clinical pastoral education, CPE, which basically means for many of us that we spend a few months one summer serving as a chaplain in a hospital. I completed my unit of CPE this last summer at New York Presbyterian up at Columbia, and I learned a lot about waiting while working in a hospital. Most of the people I visited were waiting for test results and new diagnoses, waiting for a new heart transplant, waiting to get stronger or heal further, waiting for their loved ones. But waiting in a hospital isn't just about patience. It's also about holding space for deep uncertainty, for fear, for hope, and sometimes for grief. Being present with people in those moments taught me a lot about what it means to live fully in a world that often feels overwhelming. These past few weeks, I've been talking a lot with friends about how to exist, how to survive in this world in 2024. After the 2016 election, the quote, "If you're not angry, you're not paying attention," was passed around a lot. And I think it still rings true today, but with this second part to it too. If you are living in this world and you don't feel any grief or anger or bewilderment, you're either not paying attention or you are so numb to it all that you don't let yourself feel those feelings. They are hard and painful feelings to have. If I opened the news every morning and read about each and every one of the ways that people and all living beings are suffering right now, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. There is some level of numbness that we each have to hold to be able to keep moving forward. Kelly Hayes and Mariam Kaba released this really amazing book in 2023 that I totally recommend to anyone who's feeling some of the things that I'm naming here. It's called Let This Radicalize You. And the title comes from a saying that Mariam Kaba shares often: let this radicalize you rather than lead you into despair. They remind us in this book that feelings of anger and grief and overwhelm are not signs of failure. They're signs of connection. To feel deeply is to care deeply. And to care deeply is to act with intention and love. They write that hope and grief can coexist. And if we wish to transform the world, we must learn to hold and to process both simultaneously. That process will, as ever, involve reaching for community. This idea resonates so deeply with me, especially when I think about my time in the hospital during my CPE unit. I saw so much pain, so much waiting, and yet I also witnessed moments of profound care. Family members holding hands in silence, nurses laughing with patients, strangers finding ways to connect in shared uncertainty. These moments were small, but they were revolutionary acts of love in a place often filled with fear. Hayes and Kaba remind us that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, joy and connection are essential. They aren't frivolous distractions from the work, they are the work. They sustain us. They remind us why we keep showing up. In the hospital, amidst all of the waiting, I often thought about the strength that it takes to hold onto hope when the outcome is unknown. Whether people were waiting for test results or healing or a loved one's recovery, there was also often a quiet determination in their waiting, a willingness to keep going, to keep hoping, to keep finding joy in small victories. The words of our opening and closing song this week have been with me over the past few weeks. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. This joy isn't about ignoring suffering or pretending that everything is fine. It's about claiming joy as an act of defiance and resilience. It's about finding something to celebrate, like Miriam with her timbrel, or even my little sprout of mint in the midst of the waiting and the struggle. As I talk with friends about how to survive in 2024, these words feel like a call to action. We live in a world that often feels determined to steal our joy, to numb us into despair with constant grief and injustice. But this joy insists that we don't have to let it. This joy is ours to nurture, to hold on to, even in hard times. That's what I see in the story of Miriam. She didn't wait for everything to be perfect before she celebrated. She picked up her timbrel and danced with the joy that no wilderness or uncertainty could ever take from her. And that's what we are called to do too, to find and hold on to moments of joy, however small, and to claim them as a sacred part of our lives and our resistance. I want to leave you with a quote from the former minister of Community Church, the Reverend John Haynes Holmes. Now keep in mind that he offered these words to our community in the early 1930s as the Great Depression raged. His context was very different from ours today, but his message still holds true. He said that we are living today, in 1932, in one of the great periods in modern history, one of the greatest periods of social change probably in all history. There are forces loose in the world, as we are now discovering, which are too powerful for any man to resist. But it is just here that the soul asserts itself. For though cast down, we may struggle once more to our feet. This is what I've learned in the hospital, in my arrow garden, in my own journey, that waiting is not just about holding on for what's next. It's about finding meaning and joy in what's here now. It's about making space for both grief and hope, for both anger and love. It's about choosing to care deeply, even when it hurts. So as we sit in this season of waiting, I invite you to ask yourself, what seeds are you tending right now? What small joys are sprouting in the cracks of your life, even if you have to look hard for them? What moments, no matter how fleeting, remind you that you are a part of something larger, something worth waiting and worth working for? This is the practice of living. Finding a way to hold the complexity of this world and still move forward with care and, yes, with joy. Together we wait. Together we grow.
like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, their smiles returning to their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. 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 Little darling, I feel that ice slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's alright.
That was unreal, choir. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I wrote a pastoral prayer for this moment, but I want to make sure that we didn't miss some important things our student minister said. Karishma, thank you so much for your message today, and it's very important, I think. You said some things that I want to hold on tight to, and I think we all should hold on tight to. Specifically, that if we are feeling despair or fear or sadness or grief, that those are perfectly legitimate responses to the time that we're living in right now. And we are not alone in feeling them. You also said that isn't the reason we gather here. The reason we gather here is because we don't wait for the world to be perfect, for us to be joyful, and for us to gather together to talk about our joy and to hold that joy and to share that joy. So there was a good prayer in here, but this one was more important, I think. We gather here with the importance of holding on to our joy and holding on to one another, even when the world outside doesn't justify such behavior. We also come to church to hold each other in prayer. We know that life deals us hardships of many kind, and that grief can be ongoing, and that we are all seeking healing and hope. Please join me now in prayer for those whom we know are suffering, struggling, or holding their own beloveds in concern. Today we pray for Sandy, Anthony, David, Judy and Beth, Ernest, Brittany, Xavier, Dorothy, Kathy, Maureen, Marilyn, Lois, Jean-Claude and his mother, Eric, Aunt Lucille, Liz, Katya, and Zoe. We know that these candles signify to us more than just the light of hope, and today, I hope we light a candle and let it radicalize us to the times that we are living in. We're here together, and we need to take hold of that. I am grateful to be with you, and it is now time for us to light a prayer. Please follow me and the other ministers as we light a prayer, a candle in prayer. May these candles be for us a beacon that leads us into a new world, not with mistrust, but the courage that comes from seeing with open eyes. May it be so. Amen.
Beloveds, we give thanks for this time we have spent together, knowing that the nourishment of community we feel will help buoy us through another week in this world that we share. As we extinguish our chalice, we send our light out into the world where healing and hope are needed. This service is over, but our service has just begun. Go in peace, go in love, go in joy.